Welcome back to our Real Love Scenario. Shout out to our real lovers out there. We appreciate you for tuning in another week.
Yes, welcome back.
It's a little big, but you know, it's okay.
Little space. It looks very warm.
Yeah,
yes, it looks
cozy.
very warm. I love it.
Cozy. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm good.
Blessed and highly favored.
Not to point out the obvious, but this little pimple above my lip is very irritating.
Oh.
It actually hurts.
Looks like a beauty mark.
This is my didn't I tell you this, my friend? This is how you make a woman feel good. You tell her that this horrible pimple looks like just a little beauty mark. Thanks, Trey.
No blemishes, beauty marks.
Yes, thank you.
Shout out to all our real lovers out there. Like I said, we always are happy that you're tuning in. We always want to shout you out because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. I want to do a special shout out to it's a YouTube comment this time.
Yes.
It's from Jessica J.
Hey, Jess.
This is one of our new real lovers. Welcome to the crew, Jessica. JJ.
Gang.
Hey, we need
some sets.
Real lovers.
How did? There we go.
There we go. Whatever.
Bam.
But Jessica J says YouTube recommended this video today, and I'm currently going through a breakup. And woo. You guys spoke to my soul. Thank you both for the wisdom. This was Can I Have Advice on Leaving and Grieving a Relationship? If you haven't checked that one out, that's a really good one.
It's such a good one if we do say so ourselves.
A lot of gems in there. But thank you, Jessica. We really appreciate it.
And also thank you, YouTube, for recommending that.
Yeah, YouTube trying to help us out. I ain't mad at you.
Them cookies was working. You must have been Googling.
Must have been going through some things.
Like, how
girl.
do I get through a breakup? And YouTube said, here's the real love scenario. They can help you. So shout out to Jessica and YouTube.
Shout out to you. We appreciate you. We love all our real lovers out there.
Yes.
And thank you for everything that you do and continuing to listen and sharing because our listenership is growing more and more every single month, every single week. So we appreciate you guys
so much.
Yeah. Before we hop into our real life love scenario, I also do want to say that Bree and I are back with our show Worth the Wait.
Woo!
Worth the Wait. It's been a little on a hiatus, but now we're back and back at it. So check in on that. That's every Wednesday. It's just Bria and I talking about our relationship and the different things that we go through as a married couple waiting for marriage. Ironically, with this scenario, what we're talking about. And just, our experiences going through different things and seeing it from our perspective. So just make sure you check that out.
Yes, I'm happy that you guys are back. It makes me think really quickly about, speaking of YouTube comments, somebody commented on one of our videos like, this is great and all, but I really want Dre to hear you and your wife talking. And it became a little tussle on YouTube. The person was like, well, if you want to see that, then this not the place to be saying it. You can go over there. The videos are still there. So y'all, we don't like when y'all fight on our stuff. But I know not just I'm happy, but other people are happy y'all are back too. Yeah. So that's great.
Awesome. You ready to hop into our real life love scenario?
Let's do it. I, while scrolling, found a clip from Judge Lynn Toller. If y'all don't know who she is, she's the judge on divorce court. She's been on divorce court for like ever and ever. And like sending her love and light because her husband passed away recently, long battle with cancer. But she was on a show called Hardly Initiated. And she made this kind of statement about like her mother giving her this advice of never hitting a man where he is weak because he will never forget it and he will struggle with recovering from that. And as our resident man on the podcast,
yes,
I would love to know your thoughts on that. Do you agree, disagree?
I mean, I think there are things that it's what they call cheap shots. You should not take a cheap shot. If there are things that are bothering you or impacting your relationship that you feel like you need to communicate, you need to find a way to communicate that. But taking a cheap shot, that means that there was really no reason for you to do it. It may not have been affecting anything, or your intention for saying it was to inflict some type of harm.
Yeah.
Or it was out of malice. Like, that is not okay because people don't forget that. And I feel like certain things, there's certain lines you can't cross. There is an eject button. So like kind of if you're flying, you hit the eject button, you're still saving your life, but the plane is going down. Yeah. It's done. That's it. You're ejecting from this situation. So you don't care what happens to the plane. And I feel like that's what certain things are like and that's the thing with getting into deep a deep relationship with somebody is that they didn't have the keys and the access to those rooms within your heart and mind to know, like, I can pull all these wires out and it's going to make this whole thing blow up. Like, they know where to push the button. They know how to push it. So it's tough and, you know, a risk giving somebody those keys to the kingdom. But so if you have those keys, you need to treat that with care and respect and understand, like, saying these certain things could really disrupt your relationship. So yeah, no cheap shots.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't believe in that, but communicate if something needs to be communicated.
Yep. I agree with you. I think the key words in what she said was never hit a man where he is weak. You can talk to him about where he is weak. You can highlight it in a positive way for the purpose of helping it to grow. Yeah, but hitting him where it's weak, I think that, and I don't think it's just a woman to man thing. You know how much I talk about that. You know, like, so much of what we experience is not unique to women or unique to men. Men also shouldn't hit women where they are weak. It's just, it's a nasty thing, like you said, where you're just like, you have my vulnerabilities and you grabbing me by the balls with them to, like, hurt me. It's not okay. I do think women sometimes tend to do it a little bit more. And I do think that it's why some men, even still to this day, where so many safe spaces have been created, but men still struggle with being as vulnerable, because sometimes when you do hit them where they are weak, it's harder for them to recover from it. I think women sometimes are a little more conditioned to take those types of hits. And I won't go into the psychology around why that is, but I think, yes, like, it has more damage on men. And so that's why sometimes they're slower to open up and share, because they believe that when you have the opportunity to, you will take that cheap shot at me, and it'll take me too long to recover from it, if ever. So yes, raise your hand and definitely say, like, hey babe, I don't like this, or I want you to get stronger in this area, or I noticed this about you. But it's all about packaging what you're saying to the person. So just finding the balance. But I thought it was good advice. Yeah. And as a woman who was married for as long as Judge Toller was married, I think it's solid advice. Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Packaging is everything.
Yes, it is. Not always what you say. It's how you say it.
Eating mashed potatoes is different than somebody shooting a potato gun right at your head.
With that being said, if you couldn't get it with that analogy, one is going to be tasty and enjoyable. The other one, you mess around and have a concussion.
Yeah.
A potato getting shot at your head is surely going to take you out.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Just how you packaged it and delivered it.
Period, Dre. You be ready. you be having them things loaded and ready to go. No, the perfect intended. Metaphors. Oh, so shall we?
That's funny. I always get Brie with the no puns intended, but that was a perfect moment. I always like that because she's like still trying to understand it, like how to use no pun intended. But what Rhonda just said is the perfect. Like when she said you be having them things loaded.
Yep, potatoes loaded. Yeah, it's actually like
it's perfect.
It's literally perfect. No pun intended, but it worked extremely well. I love that.
I love loaded mashed potatoes and baked potatoes.
I love potato skins, French fries, honestly, loaded tater tots. You can pretty much do anything to a potato and I'm going to eat it. Except shoot it at my head. Oh, gosh. We could go on a tangent about our love for food, but we are going to get into our real life scenario this week. It comes from Anonymous. She actually put in her name as sexually frustrated. So,
yeah, I saw that.
You know your mama didn't name you that. So she says, hi, Dre and Rhonda. I really love your show, and I'm so glad I found you all on Instagram.
Thank you.
Yes, I could really use some help on this kind of embarrassing situation with my husband. We have been together for 6 years and married for almost a year. Our anniversary is in March. Oh, happy early anniversary. Let me just say, I love this man so much. He is literally the man of my dreams and does everything a great husband would do. A little backstory on us. We dated on and off for a year, and while it was cool, it was mostly just sex. Really great sex. Great is in all caps. After that year, we decided to take things more seriously, which included being abstinent. So we did not have sex for about 4 years. Whew. We waited for marriage. This made us grow and focus on being closer to each other for the right reasons, and it grew our relationship with God. Fast forward to now, we've been having sex for the last 8 months. Took us some time to get back into it. And y'all, when I say the sex is so bad, it's terrible. It's so awkward. The chemistry is off, and he is so damn lazy. He doesn't take his time, barely gives me oral sex, and worst of it, I haven't had an orgasm yet. It's like he forgot how to have sex, and even worse, it's like he doesn't even care. I've been faking it and just dealing with it, thinking that with time things will change, but I think I need to tell him, because if it doesn't get better, I can't stay with him, and the thought of that breaks my heart. Am I being superficial for wanting to have an orgasm with my husband like I used to when he was just my F buddy? Also, how do I tell him this without making things worse? My mom told me to just deal with it because it could make him feel less than a man, and that ultimately sex isn't even that important. Is she right? Please help this real lover out, because I don't want to divorce my husband over bad sex. Thank you. Thank you, Anonymous, for writing into us. Woo! What a doozy. Ooh. What a very fitting, though, scenario, because Mr. Dre Smith has a little experience with waiting for marriage.
Yes, for all our real lovers out there, if you don't know, my wife and I waited for marriage.
Yes.
We started dating in 2017 and got married in 2021. Mm-hmm. So a long time.
Long time.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't include any oral, nothing.
Nothing.
So yes, definitely have experience with this situation. Mm-hmm. So where do you think we should start with this?
I think we have to ask the most obvious question.
Okay.
While I think I know your answer to it, I would love for you to just expound on, do you think that waiting for sex is a good idea?
Yes.
Okay.
How long you wait, of course, will be up to you. Mm-hmm. But I do think that waiting is a good idea. Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, who are new to this thing and are a new real lover or new to me and my content, I'll give the brief explanation of why I feel like it was important for me to do it. Number one, I felt like when I did things the way God said to do it, it always turned out better for me. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was a decision of intentionality. I wanted to be intentional with my decision of waiting for of finding a wife. Mm-hmm. This would be the person who would be the biggest influence of my life, the mother of my children, and ultimately, like I said, my life partner. So I wanted to go into this with a certain level of intentionality and not, be drunk or intoxicated by anything physical when it came to evaluating the person that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. So that's why I decided to wait. And then I felt like it's only right that when God then brought me this woman that I felt like was my wife, I need to then follow through with it. It's messed up if once I met her, I'm like, oh yeah, it's her now. Like, I know it good. Mm-hmm. Now I get into it because it's like, dang, you held up kind of your end of the bargain with me, like saying I'm waiting to find somebody intentionally. I need to hold up my end of the bargain for all of this to come full circle and be a blessing for me and my life. So that's why I ultimately waited for marriage. Mm-hmm. Part religious, but also just a certain level of intentionality. And that's what I would focus on when I tell all people you should wait for marriage. It's just, if you're serious about being with somebody or finding the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, there is a time of evaluation. And no matter what you're evaluating, whether it is the person that you're going to be in a relationship with, or whether you're buying shoes or a new car or a new house, like, you want to have as sober of a mind that you possibly can to weigh the pros and cons, to see the outlook on the future and what that could possibly be like. Can you grow with this, let's say, home? If you want to have 2 or 3 kids or 4 kids, like, is this home something that you want to keep? So it's just like, when you're evaluating anything, you want to be sober and have all your wits and be super intentional, especially if you're investing a lot into that decision. Yeah. So that's why I say wait. Now, how long you actually ultimately wait, that's up to you. I made the commitment for marriage. I understand everybody doesn't do that. Some people do engagement. Some people do 3 months or whatever. I'm not necessarily a fan of the time limit. It's more a feel thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, not necessarily like 3 months, like, because who knows, 3 months for every relationship could look completely different. Yeah. of how much you get to know somebody, how much you learn about them, how close you guys get, all that stuff like that. It could be completely different. So I think it's more of a feel thing, but I think it starts with your intention. If you know you want marriage or you know you want to be with somebody, then at least get to the point to where you feel like you can evaluate them and you understand who they are. You understand their intentions, how committed they are to you. Do they want the same thing as you? And then are you guys working to do that together? Like all those things you can figure out. And I think you should know that before you start to introduce that. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
But you know, other people have done it other ways. So
yeah, for sure. And while I wholeheartedly respect everything that you said and your decision, obviously, I've always said like I could not have done it, and not so much that I'm incapable, like as if I'm some sort of sex crazed maniac, or like it's no way I can't hold out. It just wouldn't be a choice of mine because
till marriage, you're saying?
yeah, not till marriage. Yes, I can abstain for a period of time, and I most certainly, especially now where I am dating with intention, and I want what I want a life partner. I most certainly don't want to rush into the bedroom, because I agree with you. The one thing I can say I agree with you on more than anything is that sex, especially when it's introduced too soon, is very intoxicating. I think just sex is intoxicating, period. Like even within a relationship, even within a marriage, like it just is. It is a like full on, especially if you're doing it right. It's a full on like experience, even down to some of the the psychological, how your body reacts when you're having sex. Like you don't have a lot of control over yourself. The blood rushing into different parts and all those things. So it is intoxicating. And so if you're doing that a lot and you don't even know this person very well, or you haven't figured out those things, sex can make you think that you have a certain person, or this person is so amazing, when it's like, no, the sex is actually just really amazing. You don't know anything about their personality, and it could push you into making a decision that you maybe should not be making. So that part I agree with, but I am too leery, and maybe this just shows my lack of faith in God. So Jesus, I'm sorry, but I'm so leery of being in this situation. And she tested the waters before, which is, I think she probably really felt like, I know we haven't done it in a while, but last time we did it, it was great. So I know that after marriage is going to still be great. Might have some little kinks to work out, but it should still be fine. But I'm so scared to do that because I am afraid of that. Yeah. That like, now I done go all the way married you. God, I would hate to have to divorce you. And that's the only thing that is just like, yikes. And I know like this duality of feeling like, should sex really be that important? Should sex be a deal breaker? I think your deal breakers are your deal breakers, no matter what those are. If you know that you need something to be a certain way, I don't care how superficial anybody tries to make you feel about it. Realistically, I do think it is not the only way to have intimacy, but it's a significant way, and probably the easiest and most frequent way that you'll have intimacy. So for me, it has to be right. And I need to know that before I say, yes, I will marry you.
For sure.
I need to know that.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I think it's tough in this situation. So just digging into this scenario, I've been here, and number one, I'll like to tell sexually frustrated women here, this is not an unfixable issue. Luckily, nothing that she said had anything to do with equipment.
Yes, that is a good thing.
Which is one of the things that is just like,
it is what it is.
Like if you just like it's too small or something like that. And you said the sex was great at one point, so you know what it could possibly be from the same exact person.
Yeah.
The thing is that from evaluating this situation, number one is that they waited too long. I know that because we waited too long, and we had trouble introducing sex back into the relationship or into the relationship just in general, because for so long it was not a part of the relationship. When you start having sex or you start to abstain or you're sexually active and you choose to start abstaining, that first year or so is hard. Like people always talk about, oh, it's so hard, it's so hard. But once after year one or so, like that, year and a half, it becomes easy at that point because it's just not a part of the relationship. So it's just, and then by year 2, year 3, it's not hard. Like it's not hard at all. So now not having sex has become the norm. Enjoying yourself and loving each other outside of that experience has become the norm.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling, right? Even in that space, like, you know, there's times in a relationships where you want to have sex and the other person doesn't. Like there are no pressures of that. There are no insecurities of, am I pleasing my partner or not? Like you're just enjoying each other, being with each other, having fun with each other.
Yeah.
Without that.
Listen, I feel like I knew where you were going, where like right now, the reintroduction, you're only 8 months into picking this back up, but you have more time in not doing it.
Yes.
And so it's like, maybe while 8 months does maybe seem like a long time to her, your husband has gotten used to not having sex for years now.
Yes.
And so, yeah, perhaps I don't say he forgot, but he hasn't used this talent in a long time.
Well, I would say this is that it's just not as much of a priority anymore. So like the things that she's saying, it's almost like lazy, no effort, doesn't seem like he cares. That's less about his ability to do it. It's more, it feels like more of a chore than it is something that he wants to do. And that's mainly because y'all haven't had it or introduced it for so long in your relationship. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that you have right now. And obviously you can't go back in time. You already did it.
Right.
But overcoming that, because Brie and I did overcome that. I don't think, and I won't say this is the same for her because she seems to, I think for both of them, honestly, you will never look at sex the same as you looked prior to the abstinence and waiting. Because you took so long of a break away from it, I think it kind of puts it in the place that it should be in to a certain extent, to where it's not overtaking your life. It's not as important as what you feel it is. But if you have an itch and you want it scratched and the person is scratching your itch, like I get why, you know, it could feel like a big deal. You're not saying even that probably you need it every day. You're just like, when we do it, I just want it to be an experience and be great. So with that, if we're talking about, I can get into like things that you could do to maybe help the situation. But is there something else I will say this too. In the moments of waiting, it's important to still have intimacy in those moments. Still kissing, still hugging. Like if you can withstand doing that without going the full way. Because it's the more that you detach from being intimate with one another, the harder it is going to be to come back into that.
I can imagine that. And again, because I'm on what feels like the opposite end of this, a person who has never experienced a significant, I mean, the longest I've abstained is a year. And I was not in a relationship during that time. Like,
was that like by choice?
It was by choice.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I was dating, but I really was like, it was almost in my head, it was like this detox of like, I just don't want, it wasn't like I was trying to cleanse my body. Like I had a bunch of people, but I was just like, I just don't want that. I want to just take it out of my life for right now. But it's like, it's so hard for me, right, to like wrap my mind around it. And again, I'm a person who wants a whole partner, right? Like not just someone who's really strong in the bedroom and not all that great in other parts of their life. I want you to be firing on all cylinders in all of the departments. But I do just feel like I really can't imagine how, and I'm just gonna be weak. I can't imagine being around my person day in and day out, And especially now that we've crossed that threshold of what we were waiting for, we are now here. Like, we are married. I can completely understand, like, it's been so long. So we got comfortable with it not, or he got maybe more comfortable than you with not doing it because it wasn't a part of your lifestyle, wasn't a part of what you were doing. But now, like, getting to what feels like the finish line, and it's like, wait a minute. Like, are you serious right now? Like,
Yeah.
I would be so mortified. I mean, I do hate that she has been faking it for so long. I can understand because it is extremely sensitive to talk about this, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you are a man having to tell your woman that she not doing it for you, or your woman having to tell your man they're not doing it for you. I think both are hard conversations to have, but faking it just doesn't do it for anybody.
I just think that you're in the best position that you could possibly be with the sex not being as good as you need it to be. Like, the way you can frame it is like, yo, like, I know that you're great. Like, we've done it. Like, you're amazing. I just feel like you're not giving as much effort into it. So it's not even like the things that really would hurt somebody is like, oh, like, you're too small or something like that. Or I feel like you don't know what you're doing or like different things like that. Like, that's one thing. But to let him know, like, nah, it was great. Like, it used to be fine. And I don't think it's that you can't even do that anymore. You just don't seem to be into it. Like, is there something that I did that I changed? You know, like, and talk about those things. Like, there is no way to avoid those conversations.
It's not.
Like, you have to talk about it. Like, I always say that when you're married, like, this is it. How many times have I said that? Like, this is it. The only option is to figure it out. The option isn't to leave. Like, divorcing, doing something like that, especially for somebody I love who's great to me, like, and I know that at one point this thing did work at some time. We gotta figure it out, and it only comes with talking. It comes with hard conversations, uncomfortable conversations, but we need to figure it out. And the thing is that a lot of times somebody loves you and cares about you, although the initial conversation may hurt and may sting, they take that into consideration and they do the best that they can to try to remedy whatever situation that is. But you can't not, like, talk to him. And then it's like 8 months, and I guess there's a hope that possibly it could get better, but it's like, you have to communicate. You have to.
And you've done yourself a bit of a disservice now because you have been lying. Faking it is lying. That is acting like you are enjoying something that you in fact are not. So, and you've done that for almost a year. 8 months is a long time, depending on how frequently you all have sex. 8 months is a long time to be laying there acting like you like something. I really just hope we are seeing the last days of women acting like they're having orgasms or acting like they're enjoying sex, because sex should be pleasurable for both people. You're not doing him a favor by making him think he's pleasing you.
That's what I was about to say. Faking orgasms is so dumb because a lot of times men take their cues off of how you react to what they're doing.
Exactly.
So if they're doing something and you're faking like it's pleasurable, and then you're wondering why I've been dating him for 6 months and it's still bad and it doesn't change and it's so bad. It's because every time he does something that you don't like, instead of saying, or like even in the moment, like, oh, move here, like, hold on, slow down, or you're acting like it's pleasing you. So he's not changing and he thinking he knocking it down and whole doing time. His thing, and whole time he's not. And you just talking crap to him behind his back without letting him know what it really is.
Yeah, it
doesn't make sense.
That's the worst thing in this story, that you let it go on for so long like that. And it sounds like, I mean, she said she loves him so much. He's a great husband. He's everything that she wants, all of the things. So it's like, I think that he would be a person who could, even definitely, if it's difficult, but he could take this. He could take being told this, especially when you consider the fact that you all made a joint decision to wait. So he know that y'all been waiting. That's not a surprise to him. He knows it. So it's possible that, like, maybe even 4 years ago, he might not even fully remember. I'm not saying he doesn't remember any of it, but he may not remember that much
Very
about
true.
what you liked, what you really enjoyed 4 years ago. Hell, I don't remember what I had on yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So to remember our sex life from 4 years ago in great detail, to know that you like it like this or you like it like that, he may not recall all of those things. And so it's your job, just like it's his job, once y'all get to this place of the honest communication, it's your job to please one another. It is. And so I would want to know, I do not want to be in the dark about anything that satisfies you. But if we're going to be having sex, like, I need you to be honest with me. Don't just let me do things to you because you think like I like that. And so, but you get nothing out of it. So you just here taking it. Sex
Yeah.
is not a chore. Like, I want all, like, where my camera? Sex is not a chore. It should not feel like that. Sex is supposed to be a pleasurable, intimate experience that enhances your relationship, that helps to show a person how much you love them and appreciate them and or their body and or whatever they are doing to yours. So laying there and just taking it is almost like, oh my God, like, child, I'm so far outside of that. I can't even begin to tell you how much I would rather sweep the ocean with a mop than to lay somewhere and let somebody just have sex with me. We are going to be having sex with each other if I'm participating in it. I'm
For
not
sure.
just laying there and letting you get your rocks off. I have told a guy, like, nope, let's just stop. I'm not letting you get to the end of this because I can already tell
I ain't getting there.
I'm not getting there. So this is not mutually beneficial. We might as well stop right now. Like, nice meeting you. Okay, gotta go. We can just act like this didn't happen.
Yeah.
I've got to run. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I apologize if I may have used the word dumb. I wasn't calling you dumb. I just don't think it's a good idea.
No,
to fake
you weren't
it.
calling her dumb. Dude, yeah.
But I think that also you have to take in consideration, like, there's a difference between marriage and just like dating somebody. Like, you're married to this man, and the thing is that you feel like you're faking it and not telling him how you feel to protect him.
Yeah.
But you know what normally always happens in situations when people express frustration and say it to their partner, and they say it like frustrating, like, this is, they'll ask you, how long has this been going on? And he's going to be pissed to know that you've been feeling
entire
this
time.
way for 8 months.
Right.
You're pissed at me. I had no idea. Like, I had no, like,
Yeah.
you
And got
didn't
the
get-
nerve to be saying, like, I might have to leave him.
I might have to leave. Like, you didn't even give me the opportunity to remedy the situation
Right.
while you're building up all your frustration at me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't even know. So I'm possibly about to lose my marriage for something I didn't even know was happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought everything was fine because you were making it seem like it was.
Yes. Yep. That is definitely such a damn. Like, I would be pissed. And honestly, this will probably cause to some degree some insecurities. And you already had you had to get back into the groove of it. Like she said, it didn't start right after marriage. They had to reintroduce it. So it's like now you might be even setting yourself back a little further because he could feel like you lied. And like I said, that is a form of dishonesty, acting like you're cool with something that you're not. So that might even cause him to regress even more or feel like, I hope he doesn't take it too hard. I hope that he can, and I'm sure he will, because I think to some degree, in some ways, this could be very trivial. But yes, it could really make him feel like, well, damn, like, that just really sucks that as my new wife, my girlfriend of all of these years, but my new wife, that we walking into our marriage with this deceit happening in a space where we are like completely naked, like literally and figuratively, like we're naked here. This is only you and I see each other this way. If we ain't gonna have honesty nowhere, we are bare.
Yeah.
Like, please don't lie to me. One of the questions I wanted to ask you though, and really curious about, like, how you knew before you and Bree got married, like, is there a way, or do you think there's some ways to know if the sex is going to be good although you're not having it? Are there some sort of cues that you can pick up on, like, I think it'll probably be pretty good if I wait.
Speaking, I can only speak from the man perspective and only give brief perspective off of what she told me. Also, there's a physical element, attractive, like how attracted you are to the person. You can know if that contributes to sex, of course, like that turns you on and makes somebody more desirable. Make sure the equipment checks out and it's, can do what you need to do.
Okay.
It's proper.
So is that like through imagery?
I guess for her.
Okay. Yeah.
For her, it's more, she needs to know that. And we lived together, so we saw each other naked before and stuff like that. I think in the moments that you are intimate, you see how somebody handles you in those moments. And how they move and how they operate in those moments, how they, caress you, kiss you, like things like that let you know. If somebody can't kiss, I don't feel like the next steps after are probably gonna be, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You make it tell me wrong if you met somebody who can't kiss and then the rest was good. Do you have experience with that?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I don't have experience with that.
Yeah, I don't. I've never met somebody who couldn't kiss and then the rest was like, oh, this is amazing. Nah, normally that follows. But yeah, outside of that, it's more about like I said, once you know that you have the physical capabilities to please somebody from mainly we're talking about women from a size standpoint and they're like, oh, okay, this works for me. Sex after that is being into it and being completely present while you're there.
Yep.
It's the passion, the effort, it's so much not intense. There's so many things that go into it, like outside the physical, that make sex enjoyable. Like you could take the same person and they could be checked out of it and be in it, and it's two different experiences.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily about the physical. It's about like the environment, how they treat you, how they touch you and stuff like that. So it was important for us prior to getting into it to communicate what things we like, what things we didn't like. Do you like hair pull or do you not like that? Because that could be turn off for somebody, especially when you begin to have it again. Like maybe that person doesn't like that and you used to do that with your old partners and your old partner did like that, but that's a turn off for somebody, so that makes it less of an experience. Or like I'm sure we all been in certain times to where like you start to drift during sex sometimes because it's like this person like this is not working for me. Like I don't know like what's going on here.
I wonder what time it is. I can get back to my show.
TV left it on. You just kind of looking over there.
I forgot to send that email.
Like,
cannot believe I forgot to send that email. Yeah.
Or like it's the moments where somebody's doing something good and then they do that one thing and you just like kind of jump like, nah, don't do that. Don't do that part. But it's like it's just things you got to know not to do prior to. But that all comes from having conversation and building a space to where you guys can be intimate and really like into each other. Because I feel like that's when it's the best, when both people are like really into each other and it's passionate and it's just like you're in the moment. That's when it's the best.
I agree. Listen, I do have some what I might call, they're not hard fast rules, right? Because I could be wrong. But so far, I have not been wrong about this in my life, of ways that I feel like I have a good idea if the sex is going to be good or not.
I don't want to hear this bow-legged stuff and all that stuff.
I'm not bow-legged, okay? But it's got something to do with them legs, okay? So the first one is kissing. I agree with you on that. I think kissing is a really great indication on how good this person will be in bed.
Yes.
And it's not just, the frequency in which you kiss. It is literally the means in which you can control your lips, how you make the tongues dance, that you know when to like hold my face versus hold my waist, or do a little combination of both. Like, that kissing is more than just the lips meeting. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, so that's thing one. I ain't been wrong about that one. Second thing is dancing. Sorry, might sound crazy, but he got a nice little rhythm about him. He can groove good. Like like it's just enough hip. Cause I mean, sex is a
It's a
dance
rhythm.
to
It's a
some, and
rhythm.
you gotta have good rhythm to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if we can go dancing, or I can see you dancing somewhere, I'm like, yeah, he got the juice. And then the last thing is the walk. And you don't necessarily have to be bow-legged. Dre is so funny because that is a thing for me. I love me a bow-legged man, slide in my DMs if you got bow legs. But seriously, how he walks, and it's again not about the bowed or straight or whatever. It's the confidence in the walk. It is the overall BDE that is within the walk. And if you don't know what BDE is, it's big dick energy. And men who have, again, they may not even have a BD, but they have the energy. That walk is very, very telling. If a man cowers round his shoulders, he seems to just like shrink in a room. 9 times out of 10, he's not good in bed. So these aren't, again, they're not hard, fast rules, but they ain't failed me yet. They have not failed me yet. Even the guys who may not have the best rhythm, if they can just do a little bit of something.
Little two-step.
So check. Those are the 3 things that I am looking for, honestly, when it's like, okay, I know we going to wait. It's going to be a little while before we do this. But if I feel like you absolutely can't dance, we have a kiss or a kiss or two and they both suck, and that walk is weak, I'm not even going there. Like, I'm not even about to just try it out because that formula has not failed me yet.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Does your husband or future husband have to be the best sex you ever
had? No, he does not. He does not have to be the best sex I've ever had, technically.
Put a lot of,
but
answer the question.
He does not. No. So the actual answer to the question is no. He does not have to be the best sex I've ever had, but I need to feel like we are having a very great sexual experience. And because sometimes the best sex you ever had was because the anatomy was perfect, or this was like the most attractive man you ever slept with. And then he also did it crazy. So it was like, oh my God. Like, I want to have a actual love and soul connection to you. I want to be making love to your mind. And if I have that with my husband and he has that with me, then to me, that does make for the best sexual experience, because I don't just like the sex. I actually love you. I'm actually into you. Like, I'm in the bedroom and I am completely uninhibited. I can let my body go.
Yeah.
So therefore we can have an amazing sexual experience. So that's why I answered it that way, because in a roundabout way, I think that will yield the best sexual experience, even if it's not, he ain't got all the moves and he ain't got the biggest thing in the world, like, it should still be great because the love is there, the trust is there, the safety is there, the mental connection is there, and he actually has the skill and the equipment. Those things wind up being kind of like semi-secondary. Because as I've said before, the equipment gotta be right. Like, I'm not a woman that can be like, oh, the size doesn't matter, just motion the ocean. Nope. I need the boat to be the right size. I like yachts. I'm not getting on no little pontoon boat with you, sir. I'm
Rhonda says she like yachts.
Yeah, I mean, like, the yachts come in different sizes. It don't have to be a cruise ship.
Okay,
there's bigger boats than yachts.
There's.
Okay, doesn't have to be a fighter ship. What are they called? The naval.
Oh, battleship. Like,
doesn't have to be a battleship.
Carrier.
There we go. Don't have to be that big. But baby, it cannot be
having flashbacks to our first episode of
real life scenario.
The teaching sex.
Just saying. I can't do nothing with the little boat with the dinosaur on the top, and you got moving with your feet. Nope, you can't. Yes, it's not enough for this ride. I'm so sorry. Even if you know how to really move that little thing, I don't want nothing to do with it. Get somebody else to do it. So
wow.
Yes. So I answered your question.
You did.
Yes.
He gotta be really good. But it doesn't have to be the best.
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm good. So I feel like I'm going to be doing all the things that I need to do to keep you satisfied. And in addition to that, that includes how to maintain my equipment. Because be clear about it. Ladies, you do have to do maintenance on your equipment. You may not have, we know it is not an outward organ, but there are things that you do to keep that baby together. From the outward appearance of it, to the waxing, keeping it cleaned up, to kegels, to all the things. There are things that you got to do to keep your muscles straight. So I'm doing all the things and making sure my skill set is good. I expect the same. I'm only asking for what I'm giving.
Rhonda is very confident in her skills as a captain, which means that she feels like she needs a ship that
there we go.
Somebody of her skills should be awarded. She's not an experienced captain driving a pontoon or a kayak.
Nope.
It's below her station.
Absolutely. I agree. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. This is correct. I am a big fan of asking for what you can provide. Don't ask for something that you can't give. Okay. So, again, Mr. Bowlegs, holla at me. Have your mind right though too. Don't get it twisted. So she wants to know how to say this to him, and understanding that she's waited and acted like it was great for 8 months. How do you think is best for her to approach this conversation with her husband?
That's one of the biggest things, like we talked about earlier episodes of what effective communication is. It's saying something in a place to where your partner can receive it. So number one is, best if you know your partner very well. What's the best way to deliver constructive criticism to them? Like I said, for Bree, it's a nice meal, giving her food, like putting her in a happy place, and then approaching it in a way to where it's not blaming it on her necessarily, but, sandwiching it in a way to where she could truly receive it in the place that she could receive it. So you need to figure out. No pun intended. There we go.
Food, sandwich, y'all got it. You got it. Okay.
So you have to first get in an environment to where you feel like he'll be receptive to what you're trying to say. And then don't frame it in a way that it's necessarily his fault or something like that. Just frame it in a way, I don't know. I guess if I was having this conversation, I would be like, sometimes you could frame it in different ways. Number one, you could ask just a general question. You could ask like, so how you feel like, now that we're back into it? Because it's not like a taboo conversation. You guys waited for so long.
Yes.
So you talking about sex and the reintroduction of sex back into your relationship isn't like just an out of nowhere conversation. I even think that you could even use this podcast as a reference. You could just say, hey, I was listening to this podcast and one of the hosts, he waited for marriage just like us. They waited for, I think, 5 years it was. And he talked about the struggle of like reintroducing sex back into the relationship and stuff like that, and how important it is to talk about those things and make sure that we're all on the same page. First, I want to ask you, because you're setting the environment for it to be an open space to talk about these things. Like, how do you feel things are now that we're back doing it? Do you feel like I'm pleasing you? Do you feel like we're having it regularly? Do you feel like how do you feel about us, our sex life and things like that? And that kind of opens the door to the conversation. Most of the time somebody will ask you as well, like back, like, how are you feeling? And in that you can express how you feel, not this, you so damn lazy, you so like, you don't eat it out right and all that stuff like that. It's just more like, I feel like before, we abstain, like, I don't know if it was just because it was new or whatever, but, I felt like we were in a really great space sexually. And I think, and this is not blaming him, I think the weight might have messed up our chemistry a little bit. So it's not blaming him. And I just want to find a way to get back into that space, because I really love that space sexually where we were and intimately where we were. And these are the things that I feel like could help us get there. And so those type of that's a very disarming, not you lazy, like this type of conversation. It's really just an open conversation and dialogue, just like you would discuss your finances if you were making changes or trying to figure out the best way to manage that, things around the house, your future, like you're having just a normal conversation, doing check-ins with each other about this major aspect of your relationship, just like I said, finances, future, like all these other aspects are important to your relationship. You don't talk about all those things and then not talk about this. Like you need to discuss it in a way that is intentional but disarming, not like, you know.
No, don't come in hot.
No, don't come in hot.
I agree with everything you said. The only thing that I probably would be leery of, and it's only because of this particular situation, is setting it up as if you're about to just ask him how he feels about it. Because what's then coming behind that, let's say you open the conversation with that, what's then about to come behind that is, so you was basically just asking me how I feel about it just to tell me that you don't like it. Maybe you should have just led with that. What I do think, though, she should do first and foremost before she even gets all the way into it is that the sandwich method to some degree. I agree with disarming it. I agree with not blaming him, because in this case, you actually can't. He had no indication that this was not going well for you. Is to apologize for not bringing this sooner and try to explain your reasonings for not, which a part of it is the wait, which a part of it is that you thought that maybe if you just needed to give it some time because we waited, so we needed to relearn each other. But be honest and apologize, because it was wrong of you to hold this information and lay there and let him think this. So I think that's the first immediate way to disarm it, is to acknowledge that you made a misstep in this particular department. And I think there's plenty of grace available for you, because just like him, you've been out of this groove too. You know, this probably would have come up sooner if it was a thing where y'all were actively having sex and then something changed, you know, because things can happen in a relationship. You could have work stress. You could have had a new child. A lot of times that throws off people's sex life. But when you're frequently having it, I feel like you're probably a bit more quick to say something that something's off. But the weight is having a negative impact on his performance, but it also then had a negative impact on your ability to be as transparent about it as you should have. So I think you should say sorry first and foremost. And then everything else I totally agree with. Like, don't blame him. If you're going to blame something, blame the weight. And then talk about some, or even research some ways that maybe you can help develop non-sexual intimacy, and then perhaps get into, because we don't really know, like you said, if they were kissing and touching and still having other forms of intimacy. So you may actually need to start with a baby step to work your way back up to it, instead of jumping back in full swing with like, let's just start having sex. I saw this couple, I wish I could remember their names right now, because I recently followed them, because they put out these like videos about non-sexual intimacy. And when I say, like, I watched it the other day and I like cried watching this video, which I know is like content, it's being created, but it's showing how they very intentionally get in a physical position to touch each other in ways that is not really sexual, but it is comforting. Like we talked about a couple episodes ago, that need for touch. And like, that's a way that we learned as babies to bond. It's important for your mom to coddle you and your dad to coddle you. They were literally like coddling each other, but he would like touch certain parts of her back and just work his way up, or rub her temples, or different things where you're really showing your person that, like, I don't just appreciate this organ that makes me orgasm. I appreciate all of you, and I want to touch all of you. I want to just hug you and breathe with you, listen to your heartbeat. Maybe those are some things that you need. Like I said, you need to try some of that stuff. And then maybe sex will just flow easier, because you've worked on that part of the relationship where it's like, now, okay, I got it. Like, I do maybe want to spin. She say he don't eat it long enough, or he don't do it well. Well, yeah, well, maybe now that I've experienced how your skin feels on my skin, or I have heard your heartbeat, it will pull him in a little bit more, and probably even pull you in a little bit more to him, so that the sex is just, it's good at that point, because you spent enough time having non-sexual intimacy. So shout out to them. I cannot think of their names, but it was just beautiful to see. I was like, Soon as I get him, Lord, we is gonna have some of these little hugging sessions on the floor. Just rub this, rub this, rub. Like again, nope, didn't touch her breasts, didn't touch her butt. Like none of the stuff that you think you need to touch to get you going. It was beautiful, and so I would recommend that maybe you try some non-sexual intimacy first and work your way back up to it.
Yeah, I think it's just you. Obviously, you guys haven't created a space to where this is something that you feel like you can talk about, and that's where I was kind of leaning with the bringing it up in that way, because asking him, because honestly, that is probably a question that she has on her mind, because she doesn't understand why he changed.
Yeah,
in his, like, why she feels like it's a change. Like maybe it's her. Like, I mean, and it's very much well that he could be faking it.
Yeah,
to a certain extent. Like, it's a lot easier to make a dude like come. It's not as challenging as it is. From men are easier to please, I guess to say. But it may not be a great experience for him either.
Right. That's very true.
You know what I'm saying?
Very,
so
very
it's like,
true.
with the chemistry, with the question I was saying presenting, it's more just like, I feel like our chemistry is just off in general. Like, so
Yeah,
is
no,
there
definitely.
something I'm doing?
Yeah.
Is this, let's figure it. Let's just open up the space to have this dialogue.
Yes.
I like the apology thing though, because it's like, because especially if you ask him that and he says like, no, like, I feel like you're fine and you're great, then it's like, well, I owe you an apology because I felt something. You didn't feel anything, so you not bringing it up makes a lot of sense. You thought things were fine, but because I didn't bring it up and I did feel some way, I apologize for that. And I think that, like I said, this is an easier conversation for you to have because you've had great sex with this man before. Yeah. So it's not like you're saying like you can't do it.
Yeah, it's
like,
it's possible.
You know it's possible. And he knows. Letting him know that you know it's possible goes a long way. It's not saying that you can't do this. It's like, yo, you've done it before. Like, we've had it. I just, like, we need to get back to that point, and I'm trying to get back to that point. So that's a little easier. I've seen conversations like this where it's a lot harder because it's like, dang, it was never good, or there's nothing that the person could really do that you feel like can make it better. But to know that you had great experiences with this person prior, and it's just about getting back in that groove, then it's a lot easier to have that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to, as we, get ready to wrap this, I want to talk about the part where she talked to her mom, which I think is pretty cool that you have that type of relationship with your mother, that you can kind of go to her to get some insight on, am I tripping or whatever. But I do think, like, just thinking about my own mom, she is of a certain generation.
Oh, yeah.
And, it is like, I don't know how old Sexually Frustrated is, aka Anonymous is, but everybody's relationship is different. Even if your mother isn't, even if this was your friend and they gave you the same advice, you have to always take everyone's advice. The part that they're not saying is for me, right? Like, okay, your mother's saying, well, sex is not that important. Yeah, for her, it's not that important for you. Don't let anyone make you think that what matters to you doesn't matter to you. It's cool to poll people. It's cool to, bounce some ideas around, but ultimately it ends with you. And if sex is important, and I think most people in a marriage would say it's important. In some people's households, it's number 2 or 3 on the list, and others is number 10 on the list. There may be other things that are more important. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what matters to your household and what matters to you, because the idea is that no, your partner is not supposed to be the source of your happiness, but they should be contributing to it. And so if they don't know that this matters as much as it does to you, they can't sensibly contribute to the happiness that you need in this space. And so, again, I think it's cool that you can bounce ideas off your mom, especially about sex, because most people are like, I would never talk to my mom about my sex life. But it does matter to you. So it really doesn't matter if it matters to your mom. And I think as a new wife, you are newly married. Again, don't know how old you are, but if this is till death do us part, you got a lot of sex in your future. Didn't mention children, so I assume you don't have them. And there are going to be other factors that can more than likely, and that will more than likely have an influence on your ability to have great sex consistently. You ain't even there yet. So right now, Just get it together now so that when you do hit those valleys of new baby, body changing, PTSD, stress, work is stressful, we're moving, blah, 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 blah. You know that when we do get back to it, it's actually great. It's actually great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't the man that you were dating on and off anymore.
No.
Like, this is different. Like, a lot of times when we date, and especially if we're having like an on and off like sexual relationships with somebody, we want this like I don't want to tell this person what to do or how to do it. Like, I just want them to come
To just
and it just
know.
makes it know, and it's just magical. And it's like, yo, y'all married now. Like, the magic is going to be gone at certain points in that relationship anyways. Like, this newness magic, this on and off again magic, like that feeling and that
Booty call magic.
allure of that, like it's not there anymore. You're married now, so you can't rely on this like, oh, I just want him to do it without me saying it. It's like, no, y'all need to talk about it.
Yes,
because it's not even been a year yet.
Right, you coming up on your anniversary.
Yeah, it hasn't even been a year yet. You got a lot more years in front of you if you really want to spend the rest of your life with this person. So it's like, this has to be something that you communicate, and you need to learn how to create this environment, like Rhonda said, the sexual touching, intimacy without actually like having sex.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to create and manufacture those environments within your marriage and your relationship.
Yeah.
You can't rely on external factors of it being something you shouldn't do, or it being something new, or it being like an on and off again, like purely physical, carnal thing to be part of your foreplay into the bedroom. Like, you have to create those environments yourself as a married couple. You have to learn how to do that. That's something you have to learn. Like you said, when you start having kids, all right, we've been running around kids crazy. Like, we need to learn how to, okay, when grandma takes them for the night, how do we create this space to be able to be intimate and be into each other and be present in this moment to have a great sexual experience when we have those moments. Like, that's marriage. You got to learn how to create those spaces. Like, they're not going to be generated externally anymore. Like, when you're first dating and seeing somebody like, ooh, and then you meet them at the bar and it's like this flirty thing, and it's like all those elements lead and build up to like it being an amazing thing. Like, you got to learn how to create that.
Yeah. Because all I hear is intention. That's everything that you're saying. All I hear is intention. It is work. It's good work. It's work that you want to do, or you should want to do, but it's still work. It's not just magical.
Yeah.
You gotta put forth the effort. So, sexually frustrated, anonymous. We hope that we helped you get closer to the conversation, so that you can stop this kind of sort of self-inflicted frustration that you may not have even had to deal with for this long. But I want you to get it straight before the anniversary. I do. So hopefully you watch this, and by anniversary, y'all are moving and shaking. You deserve an orgasm, sis. He deserves a partner who wants to have a good orgasm, and give him one as well. So good luck to you. If you have a scenario and you want to write into us, go to relationshiprestored.com, click the contact, and follow us on social at Ronnie Cakes,
at Esdre Smith,
and at Relationship Restored. And we'll see you next time.
Peace, guys.